Hey, sir. First, just a quick question. I don't know if you saw the news out of Iran. Foreign Minister's video statement saying that Iran would not renegotiate or add on to the JCPOA. How does that influence the president's thinking? Do you have any response to that?
We don't have any announcements at this time. When the president has a final decision on what he will do in terms of the JCPOA, we'll let you know.
And secondly, on the other topic in the news today, could you explain why the president, when he spoke, when he answered questions to reporters a few weeks ago about the $130,000 payment from Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels, why the president was not truthful with the American people and with the people in this room?
As Mayor Giuliani stated, and I'll refer you back to his comments, this was information that the president didn't know at the time, but eventually learned. Jonathan?
Take a broader view on this. I know you can't talk about the details, but can I ask you, when the president so often says things that turn out not to be true, when the president and the White House show what appears to be a blatant disregard for the truth, how are the American people to trust or believe what is said here or what is said by the president?
We give the very best information that we have at the time. I do that every single day, and we'll continue to do that every day I'm in this position.
But the president, I mean, when the story first happened, it came out that Ty Cobb would be leaving and Emmett Flood would be coming in. The president said fake news, said it was not true. When he talked about the prisoners in North Korea, he said the previous administration had been, failed to get them out. These two of them were taken prisoner while Donald Trump was president. And obviously the totally conflicting statements on the Stormy Daniels payment. And these are statements that are just not true.
When it comes to North Korea, I think you could also look at Otto Warmbier, who was detained during a previous administration, as was one of the current detainees. And so that would reflect the president's comments that he made. When it comes to the last instance that you mentioned, as Mayor Giuliani stated, this wasn't something that was initially known, but later learned. And again, we give the best information possible at the time, and we're going to continue to do that every single day.
He started paying back Michael Cohen back in February of last year. I mean, the reimbursement was happening long before the president was asked about this.
Is that a question or a
But I'm saying, how could he not have known? He was paying them back.
Again, I'm not going to get into those details, and I would refer you back to the statements, pretty lengthy statements made by Giuliani both last night and this morning, as well as the president's tweets where they've both spoken about that. Jim?
Just to follow up on that, the president did talk about monthly retainers in his tweet, and then Rudy Giuliani said that the president only knew about this 10 days to 2 weeks ago. How can you only be aware of something 10 days to 2 weeks ago, but at the same time being in the process of paying monthly retainers that apparently covered this reimbursement to Michael Cohen?
Again, I can't get into the details of the ongoing litigation. I'd refer you back to the president's outside
I'll just
counsel.
follow up on, you said on March 7th there was no knowledge of any payments from the president, and he's denied all of these allegations. Were you lying to us at the time, or were you in the dark?
The president has denied and continues to deny the underlying claim. And again, I've given the best information I had at the time. And I would refer you back to the comments that you yourself just mentioned a few minutes ago about the timeline from Mayor Giuliani.
That statement, but Sarah, that statement was in reference to the reimbursement, the payment.
Again, I gave you the best information that I had. And
the
allegations, the president has denied and continues to deny.
Why can't you just answer yes or no whether you were in the dark? I think it's a fairly simple question whether you just
I think it's a fairly simple answer that I've given
time.
you actually several times now. I gave you the best information that I had, and I'm going to continue to do my best to do that every single day. Jeff.
Sarah, can you give us an update on the 3 Americans held in North Korea? Rudy Giuliani said that they were going to be released today. Is that true?
We can't confirm the validity of any of the reports currently out about their release, but we certainly would see this as a sign of goodwill if North Korea were to release the 3 Americans ahead of discussions between President Trump and Kim Jong-un.
In addition to being an attorney, sorry, Sarah, in addition to being an attorney for the president, Does Mr. Giuliani, Mayor Giuliani, have a wider remit to talk about things like foreign policy? As he did?
Not that I'm aware of. Steve?
Yes, Sarah, I wanted to ask you about these reports citing U.S. intelligence that the Chinese have installed new missile platforms on disputed islands in the South China Sea, and they also appear to now be basing fighter jets there. Meanwhile, pilots are being warned that Chinese military personnel are pointing lasers at U.S. military aircraft in Djibouti and Africa, injuring American pilots. Does any of this cross a red line for the president, and how does the administration intend to respond?
Yeah, we're well aware of China's militarization of the South China Sea. We've raised concerns directly with the Chinese about this, and there will be near-term and long-term consequences, and we'll certainly keep you up to date. John?
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Were you caught off guard by Mayor Giuliani's comments on Fox News last night?
I'm not part of the legal team and wouldn't be part of those discussions.
So is the administration, is the president, is he pleased with the job that Mayor Giuliani is doing right now? It seems as if he's opened the president up to some sort of criminal liability as it relates to federal election campaign violations.
I haven't discussed that with the president. I wouldn't be part of those conversations.
So the president then is pleased with the job that Mr. Giuliani is doing?
Again, I haven't had that conversation with the president. That's an outside counsel and not something I would be a part of. Francesca?
Thank you, Sarah. When was the last time that the president talked to Michael Cohen? And is Michael Cohen still his attorney? And also, is the White House concerned, or is the president concerned, that any conversations he would have had with Michael Cohen would have been picked up by the wiretap that we learned about today?
Let me see if I can get all of those questions since there were quite a few altogether. I'm not sure when the last conversation took place. On the second part, I'm not aware of specific places where he's representing the president. And on the last one, I would refer you to the president's outside counsel about any concerns of wiretapping. That wouldn't be something that we would
to clarify, when did you specifically know that the president repaid Mr. Cohen for the $130,000? You personally?
The first awareness I had was during the interview last night. Major?
Sarah, you said earlier that when you've given answers around this general topic, you gave us the best information you had at the time. Now it appears that your position is you're not going to comment because it's ongoing litigation. Have you been advised not to wade into this to protect yourself from any potential legal exposure by giving either false information or information that proves later not to be able to be withstood in court?
No, but I would always advise against giving false information. As a person of human decency, I do my best to give
But the point of Jonathan's question
correct
earlier, when
information.
you say before that you gave the best information you had at the time,
And I continue to do that today.
but it turns out not to be correct or accurate, are you then trying to limit the liability that you may encounter by not dealing with any of those questions now and pushing it all off because you say it's ongoing litigation?
Again, I'm giving the best information I have. Some information I am aware of and some I'm not. When I can answer, I will. But beyond that, I really don't have anything to
Let
add.
me ask you something that the mayor said last night, not related to the questions you've gotten so far. He said, he, meaning the president, fired Comey because Comey would not, among other things, say that he wasn't a target of the investigation. Is that the White House position now, explaining why James Comey was fired?
There are a number of reasons that James Comey was fired. The president's named several of them, but the bottom line is he doesn't have to justify his decision. The president has the authority to fire and hire, and I think every single day we've seen that he made the right decision in firing James Comey. Again, I think that there are a number of reasons that he was fired. Certainly, James Comey was fired for lying, leaking, and politicizing the FBI. And the president has been, I think, repeatedly, day after day, been proven to be exactly right in his decision to fire James Comey. Sorry, Major, I'm going to keep going.
This is a completely tainted investigation. Do you agree with that?
Can you?
He said it's a completely tainted investigation. Do you agree with that?
Shannon, go ahead.
Can you clear up this timeline a bit, back to Jim's question about when exactly did the president learn that the payments were going to Michael Cohen to cover the Stormy Daniels?
I would refer you back to Mayor Giuliani's comment, and for anything further, I'd refer you to
2 weeks. And did the president know that Mr. Giuliani would specifically be talking about these payments on Hannity last night? Was he aware of the time and the method?
I don't know,
Mr.
that's a
Giuliani
question
was-
you'd have to ask the mayor.
Do you know?
Thank you very much. A follow-up to Jeff's question. Jay Sekulow and Rudy Giuliani have both commented publicly on the North Korean hostages. Are they involved in any way in efforts to secure their release?
Not that I'm aware of.
Why are they commenting on this?
That's a question you'd have to ask them. I don't speak for people on the outside. Christine?
Is the president concerned that his own Justice Department authorized a wiretap that may have gathered communications between him and his personal attorney, Michael Cohen?
Again, I'm not sure of the comments on that report or the claims in that report. That's something that you would have to talk with the Department of Justice and the President's outside
Was the president
counsel.
concerned when he learned the reporting that Michael Cohen's phones were
I
wiretapped several days before?
I haven't talked to him about that, and again, I can't verify the validity of that report.
Just going back to the payments question, how many payments did the president make to Michael Cohen after the election?
You'd have to ask the President's outside counsel.
But Sarah, you're standing there
Sorry,
speaking
Krista.
for the president. Can I just ask you about Rudy Giuliani's comments? Rudy Giuliani said this morning, imagine if that came out on October 15th, 2016, in the middle of the last debate with Hillary Clinton, a reference to the payment. So does the White House now acknowledge that that payment was made with politics in mind?
Again, I'm not aware of the back and forth, and I would refer you to the President's outside counsel.
Sarah, yesterday the president threatened to get involved in the Justice Department if memos were not turned over in a timely manner to the House Intelligence Committee. What actions is the president considering taking, and what does a timely manner mean to the president? How soon does he want the unredacted version of the special counsel
Probably
memo?
yesterday. But in terms of what he might do, as the president likes to say, we'll see what happens. Olivia?
Thank you, Sarah. On the Haspel nomination, would you remind us what the president's position is regarding the potential use of interrogation tactics that meet international definitions of torture?
I'm not sure what those two things are you're trying to connect. I know that Acting Director Haspel has done everything appropriate under the law, and she's going to be a great CIA director, and we look forward to her being confirmed. John?
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Question on Russia. This morning, the Financial Times reported that Alexei Kudrin, a former close associate of President Putin and a strong advocate of warmer relations with the United States, may well be rejoining his government. This raises another question. You've said that the president would have a summit with Mr. Putin sometime in the near future. Can you give us any clues when that'll be? Has anything been determined on a possible Trump-Putin summit?
Nothing has been finalized on that front. I think the next big summit, if you will, I'll borrow your word, that the president will engage in will likely be between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. Beyond that, I don't have any updates.
There'll be no meetings. It's likely that there's no meetings with President Putin before the Kim-Trump summit.
Not that I'm aware of. Certainly nothing is finalized at this point, but certainly the president would still be very much open to sitting down with leader of Russia. Emerald?
Thank you, Sarah. Following up on Sagar's question, in regards to those memos and the congressional oversight, Rosenstein is saying this is extortion. What is the White House's response to him calling it extortion? And does the president support the Freedom Caucus's articles of impeachment for Rosenstein?
The president would like to see the request of Congress to DOJ met. I haven't had a conversation with him about the articles of impeachment. Cecilia?
You just said that James Comey was fired for lying and leaking information. What did he lie about before he was fired, and what did he leak before he was fired?
There are a number of allegations. One in which he lied during congressional testimony, and has been continually, I think, had a number of contradictions since then, which I pointed out that the president said he has learned every day since firing Comey that it was the right thing to do, and certainly has been justified in doing so. But again, going back to the president, frankly, doesn't have to have a justification. He can hire and fire whoever he wants, and he made the decision to fire James Comey, and that's certainly a decision he stands by and one that he feels very justified in since. Julie?
Giuliani correct in saying that he was fired in part because he wouldn't tell the president that he wasn't part of the investigation?
I can't speak for Mayor Giuliani. I haven't talked to the president about that. Julie?
Did the president file a fraudulent personal financial disclosure last year when he filed a report that did not include a loan from Michael Cohen or any company affiliated with him? I mean, if there was no loan, then what would he have been reimbursing?
I don't know. You would have to talk to the president's outside counsel. Brian?
Can you say why he was talking with Giuliani about the North Korean prisoners, given that he doesn't have a high-level clearance?
I'm not aware that they spoke about that, so I don't know.
Was he aware that Giuliani was going to be talking about them on TV during the negotiations?
Again, I'm not aware that they spoke about it, so I can't answer that. Brian?
A couple of quick questions. Does the president believe he's above the law? And does
No.
he prefer to sit down with Kim Jong-un
I'll answer the first question. No. Go ahead.
Thank you. And then does he prefer to sit down with Kim Jong-un versus Bob Mueller?
I certainly think that the president feels like stopping a nuclear war and helping protect the safety and security of people across the globe would certainly be the #1 priority of the president of the United States. And certainly I would think would be the priority that most Americans would share and support the president doing. Take one last question. Lalit?
Sarah.
Sorry, April.
Okay, Sarah, really fast. Can you, 2 questions. Can you, if you're not ready, Sarah,
I was looking for him. I thought he was over here. He's usually standing over there.
Well,
Threw me off. I'll come to you next.
Okay. So Sarah, at this point, can you tell us definitively if the president plans to answer any questions from Bob Mueller, and if not, what is now in place here at the White House to go through that process of a subpoena, a possible indictment, a possible grand jury?
Again, those are all questions you would need to refer to the outside counsel.
Okay, well, now going to Rudy Giuliani. Did Rudy Giuliani do harm to the president today and last night in his conversations to Fox?
I don't believe so.
Sorry,
I'm going to take the last question like I promised to do.
Why didn't he talk to the White House press office about his impacting stellar statements about what was happening?
The White House press office wouldn't coordinate with the president's outside legal team on legal strategy.
You said yourself you were blindsided.
I actually didn't use that term.
Well, I said it, but you were blindsided from what you said.
Well, with all due respect, you actually don't know much about me in terms of what I feel and what I don't.
21 years to understand how this operates.
All right, I think we're good. Lalit, go ahead.
Last week there was a meeting between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping in China. How does the White House sees a meeting between the 2 leaders, India and China, trying to improve the relationship? And did the President had a role in that?
We don't have an official policy, but certainly think it's always good when other world leaders are getting along, and certainly when we can cooperate, that's definitely a good thing. We have a great relationship with both countries and hope to continue to do so. Thanks, guys.